All right, chat. So it looks like Mark Zuckerberg is the latest Silicon Valley CEO to join the "Let's suck off Donald Trump" grift. After Elon has successfully done that for years at this point, now the Zuck is on board. So I wanted to go over this article. The headline mentions the removal of tampons from the men's bathrooms at Meta, but it kind of goes into everything that he's doing to clearly pander to the right. It says Mark Zuckerberg orders removal of tampons from men's bathrooms at Meta offices. Meta also recently discontinued its diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) programs and removed transgender and non-binary themes from its messenger app. So they're going all on board with the whole anti-woke shit, basically. Anything they can do to suck off Donald Trump. Here we go. Meta CEO Zuckerberg has reportedly directed the removal of tampons from men's restrooms in company offices, which had been provided to support non-binary and transgender employees who might need them. So for those of you guys who don't know, I understand that, excuse me, not everybody understands trans stuff. This is one of those things that a lot of people, even when they're okay, trans people, cool, whatever, but why do we need tampons in men's bathrooms? If you didn't know, trans men, basically male to female transition, they still have periods. And non-binary trans people who were born as women, they still have periods, so they still need tampons, right? So it makes sense in that regard to provide, the same way you would in a woman's restroom, provide access to tampons in the bathroom. It would make sense to provide them in the men's restroom as well, to provide that resource to trans man and non-binary users of that bathroom. But Mark Zuckerberg, who has previously championed these sorts of things, now he's speaking out against it and asking for it to be removed from the company's restrooms, which have been provided to support non-binary transgender employees who might need them. According to the New York Times, facilities managers across Meta's Silicon Valley office, Texas, and New York offices were ordered to get rid of tampons and sanitary pads from the men's bathroom. At Meta's offices in Silicon Valley, Texas, and New York, facilities managers were instructed to remove the tampons from the men's bathroom, which the company had provided for non-binary and transgender employees who use the men's restroom and who may have required sanitary pads, two employees said to the Times. The New York Times report also said that Meta's policy changes have sparked internal controversy. I would imagine, because again, you have a company that previously championed very progressive positions, right? So obviously a company like that would attract a lot of progressive employees, including people who may be transgender or non-binary. And suddenly the guy who runs that company is implementing policies that go against your core values. So understandably, a lot of people who are employed by Meta are going to be very upset here. So it sparked internal controversy. And by the way, I apologize for all the coughing and throat clearing. I have a really bad nagging cough that I'm trying to beat. Hopefully I can beat this soon, but God, it's awful. On the company's internal platform, Workplace, employees in the Pride group expressed concerns and objections, understandably. Some even announced their resignation or plans to leave the company. I would imagine we'd see a lot of that in the coming months. A lot of people leaving Meta as a result of these new policies. It just kind of came out of nowhere. I have my theories on why this is happening, but we'll get into that in a bit. Meta's chief marketing officer, Alex Schultz, attempted to address the concerns in a post, suggesting that issues like transgender rights had been politicized. Oh, God. Imagine telling transgender employees within the company who have legitimate concerns about this stuff that, oh, your existence is just politicized. How is that an adequate response to these employees' concerns? Meta also recently discontinued its diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and removed transgender and non-binary themes from its Messenger app. As per reports, these decisions are believed to be part of Meta's broader strategy to align its internal policies with the expected values of the incoming political leadership. So I've talked about this quite a few times on my stream, how, it's nice, obviously, when you are, somebody who's progressive minded, or if you're somebody who's a member of the LGBTQ community, to see companies that seem to share your same core values. It's a nice thing to think about. but I've talked to my audience about the fact that most of these companies don't give a shit. Like when you see a company that puts up like a pride flag behind their logo on Pride Month and stuff like that, and then they immediately remove it once Pride Month is over, that's a form of rainbow capitalism. They don't actually give a fuck about any of that stuff. They're just doing what they think will make them look good to get you to shop at their establishment and make them more money. That's all they really care about, right? And this is a prime example of that. We went from Meta being a company that had very progressive values, or at least seemed to now, oh, the country's like shifted, more right wing. The Overton window has shifted to be more on the right these days. So we're going to completely strip away all our supposed values, and we're going to pander to these people now. These people don't give a shit. Joel Kaplan, Meta's chief global affairs officer, defended the company's decision to end its diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in an interview with Fox News Digital. Mr. Kaplan stated that this move was to enable Meta to build teams with the most talented people. This means evaluating people as individuals and sourcing people from a range of candidate pools, but never making hiring decisions based on protected characteristics like race or gender, he added. This is a common talking point by conservatives about how DEI bad because it makes people get picked for positions that aren't the best candidates for the position. Instead, people get picked to meet diversity quotas or whatever. That's not what DEI is about. The purpose of DEI is to prevent people from being discriminated against during the hiring process. It's not about meeting diversity quotas. It's not about picking people that make the company look good because, oh man, we don't have enough Mexicans in our company, so we got to hire more Mexicans, or, we've got a shortage of black people, so we got to hire more black people. That's not what DEI initiatives are for. It's literally just to say, hey, when you're hiring for a position, you're not allowed to discriminate against people based on their race, their gender, their sexuality, etc. You're not allowed to discriminate against these things. But whatever. Previously, Meta announced a decision to phase out fact checkers on Facebook and Instagram, replacing them with community notes program that allows users to fact check posts and provide contextual information. So basically, following in the footsteps of Elon Musk and what he's doing with Twitter. The Meta CEO justified Meta's decision, citing concerns that the previous method was perceived as politically biased and eroded public trust, as if what you're doing now doesn't perceive a political bias, but okay. He also addressed the controversy surrounding Meta's content moderation changes in an interview with Joe Rogan. He denied that the changes were made to appease the incoming Trump administration. That's cap. That's cap, and we all know it's cap. But acknowledged that the election did influence his thinking. Okay, so it didn't influence your decision, but it did. We all know the truth. It did. And again, I have my theories on why this may be the case, but we'll get into that in a second. We got to this point where there were these things you couldn't say that were just mainstream discourse, Mr. Zuckerberg explained. The decisions have sparked intense backlash and debate across social media platforms, not just Meta. Several major companies are reevaluating and rolling back their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives following President-elect Trump's election victory. Again, this is just a prime example of exactly what I was talking about. When a lot of these companies pretend to care about progressive causes, they don't give a fuck. You are just a number to them, and they will say or do whatever they think they have to say or do to get you to be an addition to that number. That's it. But anyway, now I did reference a couple times there that I think I know why Zuck is having this, sudden change of heart, because it is really sudden. It did kind of come out of nowhere. And I think it has something to do with this. Trump has basically threatened to throw Zuckerberg in jail quite a few times. And so I wanted to take a look at that. This is my theory as to why this is happening. Trump claims Zuckerberg plotted against him during the 2020 election in soon-to-be-released book. I'm just going to read the highlighted points here that I have. Former President Donald Trump writes in a new book set to be published next week that Zuckerberg plotted against him during the 2020 election and said the Meta chief executive would spend the rest of his life in prison if he did it again. So he's making threats to lock up Zuckerberg in prison. So suddenly when you look at statements like this, it's like, okay, suddenly this grift makes a lot more sense than it previously did. He told me there was nobody like Trump on Facebook, but at the same time, and for whatever reason, steered it against me. Trump continues. We are watching him closely, and if he does anything illegal this time, he will spend the rest of his life in prison, as will others who cheat the 2024 presidential election. This is the guy that, like, people elected. A guy who's literally threatening to use his political position to imprison people. This is fascism. This is like textbook fascism. Why did people vote for this man? Trump has made similar remarks about Zuckerberg before. Trump wrote in a July post on Truth Social that if elected, he would pursue election fraudsters at levels never seen before, and they will be sent to prison for long periods of time. We already know who you are. Don't do it, Zuckerbucks. Be careful. So yeah, Trump has repeatedly threatened to arrest this guy and have him locked up for life. It's no wonder he suddenly had this shift in political views, right? At least that's my theory. But he's not the only one. We have other tech titans, trying to, schmooze up to Donald Trump. Obviously, we got Musk, but that's no surprise. We got Zuckerberg now, and Jeff Bezos. Apparently, they're going to receive key perks on Inauguration Day. So they're sucking up to him. And the one that disappoints me the most personally, as a big fan of Apple and that company's core values, Apple CEO Tim Cook donates $1 million to Trump's inauguration. This one's really disappointing because, like, Tim, if it were up to Donald Trump, he would strip all your rights away. If you don't know anything about Tim Cook, Tim Cook is an openly gay CEO of Apple, obviously. And he basically uses his influence in the company to have a lot of progressive values integrated into the company. He works very hard to push a lot of pro LGBTQ initiatives and stuff like that. And he is now donating money to the inauguration of a president that's made it very fucking clear that he wants to strip the rights of LGBTQ people away. So that one's a real slap in the face for someone like me. But yeah, this is the world we live in now. We went from, Silicon Valley being a very progressive industry to work in, to now all of these CEOs in Silicon Valley are kissing Donald Trump's ass. The next 4 years is going to be extremely interesting. This is just really nuts to see. But yeah, Mark Zuckerberg seems to be the next big Silicon Valley CEO sucking the farts out of Donald Trump's ass. Dear Lord.